Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on this fine planet. We're here with Antonio and a very special guest on another edition of WOWSA Live. Antonio?
Muy buenos días, muy buenas tardes, muy buenas noches, donde nos vean. Estamos nuevamente en WOWSA Live. Buenos días, Catherine.
Hi, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. I was just telling Antonio it's foggy and cold up in Northern California. And
How's the
sunshine?
Yeah. How's the lockdown up there?
It's okay. I mean, restaurants and bars are closed, gyms are closed, obviously. But the bay is still open, so I can still swim.
Okay.
Trails are open. Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
Okay. And how are you swimming in the pool or just in an aquatic park?
Mainly aquatic park. Sometimes I'll go in Tiburon because I moved up there, and then I have a pool in my apartment complex, so I'll hook a tether up to one of the stair like rails and just swim in place for a little bit. Probably going to do that this afternoon, actually.
Got it. And during the lockdown, about how much are you swimming?
Well, I'm trying to ramp up my yardage right now, so I'm at like 15 to 25,000 yards a week, but that's on top of like biking around 50 miles a week and then running like just under 20 miles a week.
Got it.
A lot of fitness.
Yeah. And can you, for our audience, can you tell people your career from the time that you first started competitive swimming and all the way up to the North Channel?
Yeah. So I guess a brief history of my swimming careers. I started swimming when I was 4 years old. I loved the sport. And then, as I think suburban kids do, tried all the other summer sports that were offered. When I was 9 years old, I told my mom I wanted to swim year round. So she said, that's fine, no problem. So I started swimming year round when I was 9. And then few years just wasn't very good, and then just kind of took off and got a full ride scholarship to Cal, where I competed for their team for 4 years, was on a US national team. And then after I graduated, I wasn't ready to give up the sport, but I still wanted to swim. So a dear friend of mine introduced me to the Dolphin Club, and that's where I met a lot of people. And I think Steve Walker was probably the most integral person in getting me to branch out. And him and I sat down. He's like, I think you could be really good at this sport. So we decided to do Lake Tahoe as like my entry in. I felt like it was a nice soft entry, local swim. I love Tahoe. And then English Channel. And then so began my journey for the Ocean 7, I guess, including the North Channel. But I grew up sailing around the bay. So, you know, the bay and open water never been intimidating or scary to me. It was a very familiar place.
Got it. And let's go back to the Cal years. You know, you said you were on some NCAA championship teams, and for our audience, which is open water swimmers, perhaps they don't understand the excitement and the pressure of an NCAA championship event. Can you describe that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like a major sport. It's the finals of a, you know, basketball, or it's a Super Bowl. It's, you know, it's what you work for that whole year to go do. And it really is a team effort. So as opposed to like Olympic trials where you're going and trying to make the team individually, the NCAA is very much as a team sport. You score for your team. Everything is, you know, the events are catered towards certain people where they think you can get the most points for your team. And it's exhausting. I mean, you're up till midnight every night, racing or getting drug tested or doing recovery. And then, yeah, it's very, very high energy, very high energy.
Do you think that team effort, that orientation to helping your teammates and being part of a successful team, is that translatable to a channel swim when you're dealing with a navigator, a pilot, your crew, and everybody else involved in a channel swim?
I don't know if it's directly relatable. I think just being able to appreciate the power of a team is relatable, in that you will have to support each other and work together. But, you know, I think with like NC2As, I'm going to push harder in my events so I could score more points, and then the whole team could maybe win a title. That's more of what swimmers go into it. Whereas I think with a channel, it's everyone's effort is focused on that one person, and that's where the team aspect comes in. But the swimmer, I don't think maybe has as much of the team mindset, you know, because they're trying to get across from themselves, but they need to trust their team.
Got
If
it.
that makes sense a little bit.
Yeah. And then it was interesting when we follow your career, you did Lake Tahoe, high altitude, cold water. Then you went North Channel, cold water, jellyfish. I mean, why, you're a pool swimmer. Why didn't you start off with Catalina, Molokai, something nice and warm?
Well, Molokai's warm, but I would never call that channel nice. So Tahoe was warm. Tahoe was 72 degrees, and I go up there like every single weekend in the winter, probably for like 3 or 4 days. So very comfortable with the altitude up there. And then I actually did the English Channel. So that was like my first big channel. And then I did do Catalina as a relay. You know, after the English Channel, I was going to do another channel. I just hadn't really decided which one I was going to do. And I woke up one morning and I was pretty adamant about not doing the North Channel. I was like, I'm not going to do the Ocean 7. I'm not going to do the North Channel. This is crazy. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, well, I'm just going to go do it. So I emailed all the pilots and got a date. That's kind of how it went.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did you cross paths with Antonio up at the aquatic park at any time?
Yeah, Antonio and I crossed paths. I didn't really know who you were at the time, but everyone's like, he's a legend. Like, you have to meet him. And I think there's a kayaker, Miguel, who, I mean, everyone knows Antonio. We really crossed paths and got to know each other when he joined the Olympic Club, actually. So that was when we, you know, got like sat down at dinner and got to chat and know each other. So yeah, it's a small.
But you know what? You know what? It's really interesting, Stephen, is you know, after Kat and I met Quinn, our mutual friend,
Yeah.
We all had dinner together, and I remember she was doing her English channel, and she said, "Well, can I ask you questions? You know, if I have a problem." Remember, Kat?
Yeah.
And so she sent me one day a message. I just got a message from my pilot that I will have to arrive in London, go to Dover, and then swim the next day or something like that.
At night.
Why don't you tell us that? Why don't you tell us that? Because it was really, really interesting.
Oh my gosh, that was a disaster. I had trained so hard for the English Channel. I was like, I mean, wasn't looking at any records. I just wanted to do it well. I wanted to go like around 9 hours. And I got an email from my pilot saying conditions look bad. You might not be able to go in your window. Can you go the night that you arrive? So I asked like Antonio and Cam and Steve Walker and Suzanne Hyman, like, what would you guys do? And every single person was like, you've got to go for it. So I did the math and I was like, I should have at least like 8 hours to relax in Dover, and that's fine. I can handle that. That was really optimistic. It took about 2 hours or something to get through security, like customs. And then the only road to get from London to Dover had an accident. So it took us 3 hours to get to Dover. It should have taken like an hour and a half or something like that. And then we couldn't find our Airbnb. So that was like another hour. And then by the time I got to Melissa Blaustein's hotel, because she was like, just come here, we'll get ready here, I had 45 minutes before we needed to be on the boat. I think I had a gas station sandwich, hadn't slept in like a day and a half, like a day. It was just bad. Yeah. And then I jumped in and swam and was not in the best mood. Yeah.
But you, I mean, you did it under 10 hours.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It just like, it was rough. I was just not like conditions. I was just so tired. I was so tired. I remember like wanting to fall asleep while I was swimming.
And how did you overcome that? What was it?
I mean,
mind? Was it?
Yeah, your mind plays a role into it. I mean, if I fall asleep, I drown or get pulled out. That's not going to happen. And just more caffeine, I guess. I was asking for like my gels that have caffeine in them, just trying to keep that up. But yeah, I mean, the body can do incredible things. And I think being tired is probably the easiest thing that you can deal with, you know, like a pain or a shoulder ache or an injury, like that's harder, but tiredness you can push through.
Got it. When you were swimming the English Channel, did you change your stroke mechanics in any way, your body position, your kick, compared to what you do in a 200 or 400 meter freestyle?
Yeah, totally. I say a lot that my open water stroke is very different than my pool stroke. That also depends on the condition of the water. So I think when you're in a pool, you have the same conditions every single time you get in. It's going to be flat water, it's chlorine, you got the black line to follow. And sorry about that. And when you're in the ocean, you're going to have a lot of different conditions. So you have to swim to what the ocean's giving you, is what I say. So if it's really bumpy, really choppy, I'm not going to have my really long, almost straight arm stroke. My arms will be a little bit more bent, a little bit more fluid. I kick a lot in open water, and I think I kick more when the conditions aren't great because my arms might not be able to catch every single time because there's waves. So I think I have a 6-beat kick for my entire marathon swims, which helps a lot. I might not do that in the pool. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, very well. And it actually reminds me of another great swimmer who's actually 93 now, but she was very tough, and she was Greta Anderson. She adapted her own stroke to the ocean conditions, as you eloquently described, and she almost always had a 6-beat kick.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so when I see pictures of you, and I know Greta, you're long, you're tall, you're very powerful in the water. So it's really nice to see. It's like, whoa, Greta 2.0.
That's awesome.
And then so you went from the Lake Tahoe English Channel, and then you attempted the monster in the North Channel.
Yeah.
Did Antonio give you any advice for that one, or you hadn't yet met?
No, we had met because that was just last year. Gosh, I don't know what advice I think I got so much advice from so many people. That don't shower in warm water until like after your swim, and train without a cap, and put on body weight, like all these things. So I have to be honest, I forget who's giving me what advice, but I took a little bit of everything for sure.
What was really interesting, Steven, that amazed me about Kat when she was training for the North Channel. We all know San Francisco Aquatic Park, and she was, I love her Instagram posts, and there was one time you did an 8-hour swim. I remember our friend from the Olympic Club was kayaking you.
Ricardo,
and
yeah.
Ricardo was kayaking you, and you could see her flying. I mean, literally flying on the bay on a very rough day. Remember that 8 hours? It was cold. It was almost raining. It was choppy. I mean, it was really choppy. That's the kind of training. I mean, that's the kind of training she was doing for the North Channel. I mean, you was really, getting yourself in super shape for that.
Yeah, oh my gosh, Ricardo and I just did a training swim on Saturday, and it was also very rough. Like, we didn't time the currents right, so I basically swam uphill both ways. But we were talking about that 8-hour training swim, and it was fine for about 6 hours of it, and then the wind picked up to about 20 knots, like insane white caps. And Ricardo's next to me laughing the whole time because he loves it. He's having so much fun. He's in such a good mood. And I was like, whatever, we just have to be in the water for 8 hours. And we just like made the best of it. And I think being able to dial into your head that like, this is fun versus being like, I hate this, the waves are bad. And I think it really changes your perspective. Like Amy Gubser's one who she loves when there's texture and when it's bumpy. And I think if you change in your mind and just tell yourself you like that, it makes it a lot better when it surprises you and it's bumpy.
Yeah. When you said texture, it actually, I got another question. And a lot of competitive swimmers, they're putting in tens of thousands of yards or meters, in their teenage years. And then you go to college and it's an intense year. But you also have, academics and the social life of a university. And come 21, 22, and you're a junior or senior, unless you're at the top edge and you're going to be making the Olympic trials, a lot of people just hang up the swimsuit. They hang up the goggles and they don't continue. But you seem to, when I'm listening to you, you seem to have this new hunger, this new drive, this new passion. And did you expect that when you were a sophomore or junior in college to be swimming in 8 hours in the bay?
No. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think I did a 5K open water one time and hated it. I was like, I'm never doing this again. I got out. Oh my God. It was so bad. So no, never expected this, but there's one thing that Terry does really well. Well, many, many things, but the first is she really encourages us to be strong women first and swimmers second, and to hold on to and maintain that love for the water that we all had when we were little kids, like the reason we got into the sport. So I didn't have the college career, pool career I wanted, but I did leave being a stronger person than I was when I started and maintaining my love for the water. And I know I can't speak for everyone on the team. I know some people feel differently and have never touched the water, but that was my experience. And the water for me has always made everything okay. Like if I've had a bad day, if something's going on, if my anxiety's through the roof, I get in the water and I'm fine. I'll call my mom and I'm like, frantic about work or life, and she's like, Catherine, just go swim, just go to the pool, go swim, and I'll get in and do like 5 minutes and that's it, and I feel better. So I mean I love swimming, I love the water, and I found this sport where I think I'm mentally tough for it, and it's so cool to see what your body can do and push like the limits of what humans can do open water. So yeah.
Wow. And for our audience who doesn't know who this coach Terry is, Terry McKeever is one of, or the most successful female coach in NCAA history, also USA Swimming. I knew Terry when she was quite young. And I knew she grew up with a lot of brothers. And I knew in between competitive age group swim meets, we'd go out in the basketball court and she'd be banging it with her brothers because they didn't let up. So Terry is this very special woman. But she also did a lot of interesting things on your training camps too, right?
Yeah.
Like what did she do to help you? Now you look back on it, that might have helped with the open water.
Well, so the main thing is she would have this man, Milton Elms, who I guess he's a swim guru. He would come and we would do like clinics with him, and his whole thing is, I don't know how he would explain it, but what I took out of it was it's body awareness in the water, and it's moving yourself through the water in a more fluid way. So for example, one I think about often is swimming used to be a lot of angles. So you'd put your arm in, catch, and it's like a 90-degree angle. And he wanted us to think of it more as curves, because curves are more natural to the human body. So things like that, just very abstract ideas. And I think that helps with open water and swimming in the ocean because it's not a controlled environment. And you have to be able to adapt yourself and tap into certain mechanics in your stroke as a you get to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, you have to tap into different parts of your stroke and your body to finish that, and finish it without injuring yourself. So I think that was one thing. I mean, we did cartwheels, we did like yoga, hip hop dance, we would do 35-meter training, just interesting stuff. But it was all fun. Yeah.
And now you have a blog that you call Beyond the Black Line, which actually seems to be, now that I'm learning more about you, it seems to be very, very in tune with this mindset. Can you explain what you're trying to come across in Beyond the Black Line?
Yeah, well, so I actually have to redo the site, so I'm in the process of that right now. I think it was a place for me I do love writing. I enjoy it. I don't know if I'm any good at it, but I have fun with it. So it was kind of a place for me to write about my swims, and I guess in a way like market myself a little bit in this open water swimming community. No idea what the end goal of it is other than I enjoy it, and I think it's kind of nice to have an outlet to be honest and write about some of these things that athletes experience and write about my swims. And I had some person ask me about like, how do you get into open water swimming? So I had a blog, it's not up now, but I had a blog of like introduction to open water swimming. So it's fun when people ask me to write about something and then I can type it up.
Got it. And Antonio actually, he has a grandchild now, and one of his goals is to swim across the Catalina Channel with his grandchild. Do you think you'll be into sport at that age, at Antonio's ancient age of 50 plus?
Oh, you don't look 50 plus. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know that I love the water. And I mean, yeah, maybe it's not swimming, but no, I think I'll still be around. Yeah. I think this is going to be a long journey.
Great. And you were mentioning in this lockdown period that you're on a bike, you're doing dry land training. You also said you have some special triathlon coming up.
Yeah. So I'm not doing the triathlon. It's going to be a relay. But it's with, so I met James Lawrence, or a lot of people know him as the Iron Cowboy, when I did the swim run Attila race in Catalina in February. So him and I met, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Uberman triathlon. It's like the ultimate triathlon. It's a swim from Catalina, a 400-mile bike ride, and a 135-mile run. And with a ton of elevation vertical. So just absolutely insane event. And I brought this up to him when I met him on the ferry. It's like, have you ever thought about doing this event? And he was like, well, they've asked me to do it, but I don't think I could do the swim, but I want to do the event. And I was like, well, I'm thinking about it, but I don't think I could do the bike ride. And I was like, what about a relay? And he was instantly like, oh, yeah, let's do it. So him and I are, and his training partner, friend Casey, will be our runner, and we're gonna do this event. So I'm gonna be swimming Catalina in October, and then he'll jump on his bike for the bike, and then we've got our runner. So it should be interesting seeing like 3 completely different athletes come together to try to finish this thing and hopefully break a record in the process.
Well, I certainly expect that the leadoff leg of the swim.
You won't have any trouble with that. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, well, since it's not going to count as like a channel swim, I'm like, maybe I just wear a wetsuit and actually go faster. I wouldn't do that, but I'm like, yeah.
Also on your blog, you came out with a pretty powerful piece, Swim Out for Black Lives Matter. And it was, depending on where you are in the political spectrum, some people are on all over the place. Did you want to elaborate on the position that you took? And I mean, the pictures and the information you shared were wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, last night I actually sat down with the Southend board and listened, and I learned. It really opened my eyes to the plight of Black swimmers, and even Black swimmers in the club, and the racism that they've experienced. So I think it forced myself and others to kind of take a step back and think like, we need to work on ourselves internally before we work externally. And by that, it's the clubs. If we're just talking Dolphin Club, Southend Club right now, they need to change before we start trying to bring more people of color into the club, because there's still a lot of racism that exists, and it would be painful to bring someone in when that's still present. So it forced me to kind of take a step back and slow down a little bit, because I mean, as a white person in the aquatic community, I'm like, yeah, let's get swim programs going. Let's start teaching people how to swim, and let's have scholarships for the club, and all these things I'm not looking at from maybe the right perspective. So it was a very eye-opening conversation. I feel very positive that long-term change is going to happen. We just have to do it the right way, and we have to slow down and look at ourselves first. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what the answers are, and it's so hard because it's such a sensitive and triggering topic to so many people. So it's it's really hard to know what to do. And I mean, if WOWSA has any ideas, like, would love to work with you guys on that.
Yeah, great. And then this week, there was a three-time Olympic gold medalist, Nancy Hogshead, was on a very interesting call with Donna Di Verona, another Olympic medalist, about the real differences in opportunity for collegiate female athletes as opposed to collegiate male athletes, which was supposed to be quite equal with Title IX. And I see you, obviously, you had a wonderful 4-year experience at Cal. You're continuing on, you're motivating people. You probably are not aware of how iconic you are, but you really can move people. Do you see yourself becoming a spokesperson, a mover and a shaker in the sport?
I don't have any intentions to, but I don't say that to say I don't want to. I just I do the sport because I like it, and I think that by my personality, I get put in leadership positions, so I do have the opportunity to do that. But it's not some ulterior motive of I got into open water swimming so that I can be this voice. I think it's something that's just kind of happening organically. And I'm at kind of a crossroads of like, I am starting to realize as I'm getting older, like I do have a voice in the sport. And, I think we're all given gifts and talents, and I'm trying to decide like where I want my voice to be. Is it like in my career, or do I want to really focus more on swimming and make that my platform? So I don't know, a little bit of a quarter life crisis right now of, how am I going to help people? Because I am really passionate about that. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I think the blog is a good start, and I am very passionate about the Black Lives Matter movement in swimming, and I've worked a lot with the Boys and Girls Club in Oakland. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Great, exciting future. And if people wanted to reach out and read your blog or reach out to you, where can they go?
I think on my blog, there's actually a contact me. So they could send me a message, and it just goes to my email. You can always direct message me on Instagram. I think my number's on my blog. I'm very easy to reach. Yeah.
Before we go, I have a question, Kat.
Yeah.
I was so fascinated because the North Channel was, complicated for me as for many swimmers.
Yeah.
And when you were going there, you were going for the record. And I remember saying, wow, I mean, if she goes, what was the record under 9 hours or something like that?
9 hours and like 34 minutes. So doing the math, I was like, I can do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know, as you know, the ocean always has surprises for us. Are you gonna try to go for the record again?
I don't know. I think for a year after, like, I mean, I guess maybe for 5-6 months after, I thought, yes, I was going to go for the record and go back. But this is so vain. I lost a lot of weight after the North Channel, and I don't want to put it back on. It's so dumb. I don't know. I think about it. I do. But it was just like that year of swimming was really emotionally draining. There were a bunch of things that happened, and the North Channel was kind of heartbreaking, but it happens. And Manhattan was like this whirlwind experience, and I was just tired. So I don't know. I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes right now.
Okay.
Well, Antonio knows this. There's a thing that we call in the marathon swimming world, channel swimming world, like big swim memory. And now that you have, you know, the English Channel, North Channel, Lake Tahoe, even that first initial 5K swim that didn't go as planned, that's all ingrained in your DNA. So whether you take off a year or you know, you pick it up in 10 years, you're going to have your innate talent and your mindset with you. And we look forward to following your career for sure. Whether that's another channel or just inspiring the next generation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you both.
Muchas gracias, Kat.
Bye.
Bye.